Well, good afternoon, everybody. I mean, it's not like you haven't seen enough of us recently. Well, yes. A new manager, new head coach. A warm welcome to Ed Still. Everybody, how many people had heard of Ed Still this morning? Not many. Fortunately, I'm one who had, but simply because I'd prepared I'd read a bit about Will Still, which people will know from Southampton, and I'm sure everybody's now looked him up, but we're still going to go through some fluff and nonsense anyway, just to see what everybody thinks overall. I think the first thing we need to see, having spoken to Martin from Southampton, and we were talking to him about obviously Will Still having moved on and why it didn't work there, was one of the things apparently he got quite a lot of was grief about not having played. And of course, Ed Still is going to have all of the same kind of stuff. So I don't think I'm going to need to kind of play about him not coaching today, but I think it is a reasonable question to ask or look at the background of the new head coach and try to get to an understanding of why the club, try to get to an understanding or not of why the club have decided that actually Ed Still might be the one to go for. Hey, it's just my thoughts on it. And of course, if anybody of you want to say anything, do let us know. We will be finishing circa around 6 o'clock. Is the intention, because we're actually talking with Preston, doing the opposition view at 6:30. So we've got a hard stop, everybody. When has that ever happened before? Not often. Anyway, let's have a quick look at Ed Still and just see what we think in the initial sense. He started off. If anybody doesn't know the Still family background. He started off, and his two brothers, sorry, there's three brothers in total, basically are Belgian. So one of the things that it's been known that Gino didn't really want an English manager, because there's a different expectation with English managers, etc. Want to run the club and all of that sort of thing. However, they were brought up in Belgium. Their French is fluent, their English is fluent. You would not know that that they are one way or another. Now that means that potentially they sit in both sides culturally. Maybe that's a really good thing when we've got quite a kind of a diverse changing room in some ways. That could be part of the theory. Okay. However, not having played to a particularly great high standard, he started off as a video analyst at Saint-Truiden, and this is where everything came, and they got this nickname. All three of the Still brothers all work in football, as basically kind of, is it football manager, or is it computer or laptop managers and all of this sort of stuff? Because they started very much with the data, and then he shifted across. And when he was at Saint-Truiden, there was a gentleman who was in charge of the club called Ivan Leko, who basically is now in charge of Bruges. He's been all over the place, and on a lot of this, he's taken Ed Still on his journey with him. So having basically been at Saint-Truiden, he got the club, he got the job at Club Bruges, where he's now back again after that, and he basically took Ed Still this time as assistant manager, which is a bit of a jump, in terms of that. But I don't think I don't think any of the Still brothers were always kind of like, well, we're just nailed to the laptop and we never go onto the training pitch. They kind of quickly tried to kind of broaden it out. One of the things that Will Still in the bit that I read was, he said, look, you've got to realize these aren't Premier League clubs we were working at, especially somewhere like Saint-Truiden. You had to do an awful lot of everything. So it says video analyst, a little bit more than that was what we were seeing. Went to Club Bruges as assistant manager, and then followed Leko again to Antwerp. He finally went off to again with Leko to Shanghai Port. So this was part of the, if you remember a few years ago, the Chinese Super League kicked off, money, contracts, all sorts of things. It fizzled out relatively quickly, but he went off to Shanghai Port, and then he got his gig basically back in, his native Belgium. And it's a club that we all know because it's connected to a certain Bayat family. Yep. That's it. Charleroi. That's the club that we've done lots of bits of trading with. Bio, obviously, we all remember. Pollock nearly was out there, but we couldn't bring in. Can't remember which player was supposed to arrive in place of Pollock, but he was going to be sold to Charleroi. It's the Mehdi and Mogi Bayat club in Belgium, and stuff goes on there. This was comfortably his most impressive time, and he had a points per game average, and this is what I want to get to. His points per game give you an indication of how many wins, how many draws, how many losses, but we're going to go into that in a little bit more detail before we get to the course. In terms of how likely is he, therefore, to follow on with the stated intent of challenging for promotion? Because here we are now with what, only 15, 16 games to go, something along those lines. How has he done in those situations? How many points does he get on average? How has he performed? How is it that he is chosen as the head coach on this occasion? Can we get to the bottom of it? Can we make it make sense to us? We'll see. He then went on to Eupen and Kortrijk, which are another Dutch club. Kortrijk, if anybody remembers it, was the club that Craig Cathcart went to, and he went there, and I think he had about one game or something, and then went, no, I'm retiring. The other one, which we'll get onto and look at, is Eupen. This is another club that Watford have had some dealings with. We had Adalberto Peñaranda go out there on loan. Go figure. Watford with lots of connections to Belgium. Wonder why that might be, everybody. He then was, once he basically finished that, he was, and a lot of what's been mentioned is him supporting his brother Will Still as the assistant manager of Lens. Now, what was interesting with the Southampton kind of Will Still experiment was the brothers weren't working together. If you'll read anything, and I'm sure you probably have looked up, Will Still credits Ed Still with being the one who he would kind of, when he first got his first team management gig, would ring up and go, what do I do? What do I do? And the tale was like, he'd say, well, go 4-4-2, shore it up at the back, get a clean sheet, and then at least you've got something. Not necessarily needing to be, carrying a first degrees honours in football to work that out, but it's fine. That's fair enough. But he really credited a lot of what he did, and tried to kind of put Ed up as being it, because I think he's the slightly older brother of the two. So let's just take a quick look at what he did in his first season at Charleroi, and this is really where he's earned his reputation. Because overall, if you're looking at this, he's played. So I'm looking all over. So this is a season and a half at Charleroi. He had 55 matches in total. He won 22 of them. He drew 11 and he lost 22. He scored 88 goals, or they did, and conceded 87 goals, right? 77 points per match, 1.4. Not pulling up any trees, to be quite frank, but in terms of what it did for them from a league position, was it took Charleroi at the end of that season into 6th place, which is something they haven't done since, and therefore he was highly considered. His second season at Charleroi, yes, many people will have seen pictures of him sat next to or opposite Mehdi Bayat, Mogi Bayat's brother, in the club. There is a connection there. I wonder if there's a connection as to why he came to Watford. You be the judge, eh? He basically lasted until match number 14 because he wasn't getting the same results. It wasn't going quite so well. So when he actually left there, they were in 13th, 14th place. So it kind of ran out at that particular point. And what was he going to do? Well, he was looking to continue his first team opportunity. He'd gone in the October. In the following November, so literally no more than a month later, he got 17 games to play at Eupen. Now, Eupen are known as the Zebras, and as I say, Peñaranda played there before. Out of 17 matches, he won 2, he drew 6, and he lost 9. Now, in order to take a look at that, because there will be people who will quite rightly turn around and say, well, how strong were Eupen across the season? Eupen ended up with basically 28 or 26 or 28 points. He only got 12 points himself at just before the halfway mark. So they actually sort of dipped. Lucky for them, the 3 teams actually in the lowest part of the Belgian first division, which has 18 teams in it, had basically the 3 below them were basically even worse than they were. One of those teams were one of the teams that he got his first result. He came in and got a result there. Let me just bring that up. Yeah, we go. Yeah, RFC Serang was the first game he played. He got a 1-0 win. He had a number of defeats, obviously a few draws, and he got one other win, which was probably notable because basically Mechelen are a big club in Belgium. They always fall out to me because their colours are yellow, red, and black. You know, I know, small thing, but it's kind of something I've always looked at. So let's be honest, 2 games in 17, that ain't any great shakes whatsoever. So he was basically let go, and they sort of, kind of at the end of that, it didn't really work very well for them. He moves to Kortrijk. Now, bearing in mind, he's had one decent season with Charleroi. He's been fired after 14 games. He's had 17 games, of which 2 he's won at Eupen. He goes to Kortrijk. At Kortrijk, he has 8 games in total. He draws 2, he loses 6. I'm not going to bother you with what they did that season or for good or for bad or indifferent. You can tell from that particular position that it wasn't the most clever stuff in the world. So the question therefore has to be, why has it been decided with that as a track record when we are openly trying to push for promotion, supposedly, or pushing, the phrase was challenging or trying to challenge for promotion. Okay. However many little kind of caveat words you want to put into that. Why is Ed Still the man we have gone to? Is it because we couldn't get Will Still? Is it because Will Still wouldn't come? Is it the cheaper option? I'm not sure. Now, I don't want to write the guy off because everybody will hope that he will come in and do great stuff. But I'd love to understand, and I'm sure we might get something over the course of the next few days, a little bit of understanding about why they think he is the man for the job here. Because let's not forget, he's got absolutely no experience of English football, let alone the Championship, which we all know is just bonkers at the best of times, and you kind of have to know about it. Now, interestingly, and I did tease the DNSYE Telegram group with the suggestion that we had appointed Eni Aluko and Morgan McSweeney as assistant managers. That wasn't true, but we've heard from the story from the club, and the appointment reads as thus. It says, Watford FC are delighted to confirm the appointment of Ed Still as the club's new head coach. The 35-year-old has signed a 2.5-year deal at Vicarage Road after recently working as a caretaker manager at Belgian giants Anderlecht. Now, that's a really interesting thing because he has, in fact, resigned. He took over for 2 caretaker positions. He was still in that, literally this morning. He lost both those games. Anderlecht are easily the biggest club in Belgium, bar none. So they are giants, but not gone particularly brilliantly still. Still has managerial experience with Royal Charleroi, just heard about KAS Eupen, and KV Kortrijk in Belgium, and will take charge of the Hornets immediately ahead of the trip to Preston North End on Saturday. See, Valentine's Day, everybody. Charlie Daniels, now this is interesting, who led the Hornets on an interim basis for the last 2 games, will take up the role of first-team coach, while Karim Belhoussine, probably completely mangled that name per normal, what were you expecting, will also join the club in the same position. I'm absolutely delighted, Still said to WatfordFC.com. I'm so thrilled and proud to be here. This is a club that has a big place in English football and fantastic history. All of the focus will be on winning games as quickly as possible and getting the best out of the players. Fans can expect our team to be aggressive, really compact defensively, and attack with pace. Still, who is fluent in both English and French, previously worked as an assistant to his brother Will at Lens, we mentioned it, helping the club to an 8th place finish in Ligue 1 at the end of the 24-25 season. He also held backroom roles at Club Brugge, Royal Antwerp, and Shanghai Port, as mentioned. Ed is a coach whom this young group of players will quickly identify with, said Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Scott Duxbury. Yes, he lives, everybody. Ed's appointment was made on the conviction that this is a coach whose modern and progressive coaching methods fit perfectly with our squad dynamic, who we believe will take the team forward and who gives us a real chance to challenge for the playoffs. We are delighted Charlie Daniels has accepted Ed's invitation to be part of the coaching staff, as we are really grateful for the job and the work he did in the interim period. He quickly earned the respect of the technical department and the players, and his promotion maintains that link with the academy. Well, I would hope that Charlie Daniels was respected by all within the club and the technical department already, but to be quite frank, because it's not like he's not been at the club for a little while. But fair enough, I'm being kind of what's the word, trite about that. But hey, it's Watford. It's manager number 3, everybody. I think we've earned the right to be a little bit trite about it all. So there we go. He has, in all his time, if you go to Transfermarkt, you can see it, his average tenure as a coach is put up in years, 0.54. That means wherever he's been, he's lasted approximately 6 months. He has a 2.5-year contract. You be the judge. You be the judge. Right. Let's get what everybody else thinks, because I want him to come in and do well. I think there are, and I know there are some really good minds around football and around coaching. However, despite hearing to the contrary, experience is a thing. You know, it does mean that you understand the situation you are in. You are familiar with the environment. You are familiar with the problems. You are familiar, hopefully, with some solutions, so that not every time you start a job are you learning on the job. Now, that's a really big thing for having Charlie there, because Charlie Daniels and absolutely thank you to Dan Gosling and to Adi Mariappa, know the Championship inside out, backwards and frontwards, whatever anybody wants to say. That's absolutely the case, and you'll hope that will be being utilised to make up that shortfall while Ed still is learning on the job about the Championship, because it's just not like any other position really. But anyway, we thought we'd find out what you think rather than anything. Just to excuse my 15-minute diatribe there, but I just thought we'd find out what you think. We start, as ever, whenever we can, with Rich WFC2. And a reminder, Rich, for Mrs. WFC2, that it's Valentine's Day on Saturday. I'm just saying, because we like to make sure that Mrs. WFC2 is being looked after by Mr. WFC2. That notwithstanding, Ed Still, discuss.
Valentine's Day massacre on Saturday, is it? That's dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Why had I not seen that? I'm losing my superpowers.
I know. It's a bit daft, really, coming on a Spaces and talking to people when you're really lost for words. But wow, I mean, Christ, I don't know where that one came from, and it's, as I've already posted, it sounds like the lunatics didn't even fancy taking over the asylum today. It's just wow. What can I say? Well, the funny thing is, my good friend, and he is my boss technically, but I'm a lot older than him and nearer retirement than him. But he's my boss at the end of the day, and a good friend, and season ticket holder at Southampton. And obviously, we had the banter leading up to Saturday, which probably made it a bit more irky for me on Saturday, having lost that stupid game. But we were talking about Will Still all week, and he was saying how just so unsuited he was to Southampton, and how baffled he was that the build-up was that he had his 2 brothers and none of them came, and Southampton sort of threw the coaching team on Will Still, and as they say, he didn't last very long at all, and is going down in Southampton's history as one of the worst coaches they've ever had. That's his words, not mine. So your words about Ed Still and where Will lent on him and blah, 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 let's hope there's something in that perhaps Ed is the one of the 3 that's a clever one. But honestly, I mean, come on. This is Mogi Bayat sitting around with Gino saying, here's a few quid, Mogi, and Mogi saying, here's a few quid back. Thank you very much. Let's put another Mogi person in. And for those that are thinking we were finally getting rid of Bayat from our club, because he's only an agent, it's all he is. He's no one special. Do you remember we were told that?
Agreed.
It's absolute nonsense. Yep. I'm trying to pick my words carefully, but the place is a carnival. It's a circus. It's also, in my opinion, another C word, and not the C-U-M word, but that it's financially the C word as well. I don't like it. It stinks I wish the guy. This is not about Ed Still now. At the end of the day,
No.
he's just another lamb to the slaughter. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even make the end of the season. I'm disappointed in Charlie Daniels because I'm amazed that he's taken the position of now go to number 2. Obviously, thrown Dan Gosling under the bus because he's nowhere to be seen suddenly, and Max for that matter. Do we really care anymore? Is there any real empathy and excitement in the Watford fan base for this now? I don't think even opposing fans even laugh at us anymore. They just feel sorry for us, and you can understand it. Why wouldn't you feel sorry that? You've got Duxbury coming out again with his little bit of bullshit text. I mean, I was reading Tom Cleverley's little bit when Gino said goodbye to Tom Cleverley about, we needed that really experienced person now. Tom did a job, but it was just a bit too inexperienced, blah, blah, blah. And now we've got this guy in charge. I mean, Petzolano didn't do a lot right, but he made one comment as he left the football club, and he said, it's not a serious football club. And it's not. And I despise everything about the club at the boardroom level. As I said Saturday, it's my football club, and
I think we lose Rich there. I think we've lost him. Yep, sorry, Rich, we've lost you there. Sorry, mate, kept with you there. No, got your point. Wonky Donkey makes a point, and look, all opinions, varied. Absolutely disgusting meltdown from the fan base. Give the guy a chance, FFS. We had never heard of AD Boothroyd before we hired him. You're absolutely right, Wonky Donkey, absolutely right. The problem is, that was a Mark Ashton and Graham Simpson appointment. And if you look at the managers that Mark Ashton, and I appreciate Mark Ashton round these parts, very contentious to say anything good about him, but he could pick a manager. There was Brendan Rodgers, Kieran McKenna, AD Boothroyd. He got a job. I'll see him and I will raise you how many decent managers we've seen, or decent appointments from the Potsos. And it's not by my recognition of this. He says, whacking the microphone for no reason. It's not my definition. It's the Potsos. They're the one, it's Gino Pozzo who's fired them. He's also hired them. That's nobody else's fault. So I would suggest that as we are on to permanent, head coach manager role, number 25, he is the perfect fit because he stayed in a role on average for 6 months. We've employed a manager for on average 6 months. That's why I don't think it's an absolute disgusting meltdown from the fan base. I think you're looking, as I went through at the start here, you look at what he's done, what justifies him coming in as head coach into a championship team with the stated ambitions. And I simply don't see it. And I've got no problem with him not being a player previously or anything like that. If it was Will Still, with what Will Still did at both Lens and what he did at Stade Reims, now that's really something. Stade Reims were paying a fine of £22,000 every time Will Still took the team because he didn't have, when they gave him the role, the UEFA Pro license or A license, whichever one it was that they needed in that particular time. But he made such a difference. They kept him in there. He didn't just do it at one club. He also did go back into Lens and did okay. Southampton, I grant you. What we've got here is somebody who's had 3 goes at first team management, and 2 of them have been atrocious, and the other one has been attached to Moji Bayat. Now, I'm not saying that that you should discard what he's done at Charleroi in any way, shape, or form, because he did better than Charleroi have done since then. I think that's absolutely apparent. But this isn't somebody who's coming with a completely clean sheet, because AD Boothroyd had previously done some first team coaching and what have you. But we weren't, he was 1 in a million. He was not a Pozzo player to bring in. Oh, here we go. I would say Watford FC 1881 is having a conversation. He said, I would say disgusting wonky, more like inevitable. AD wasn't the third manager of the season, just a bit over halfway through. I think fans are just fed up with the laughing stock we've become. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that this is let's be honest, this isn't our first rodeo. This is, as I say, 25th manager in 12 years, and that's excluding the interim ones. So we'll see. Right, let's get Ron's been waiting to come on. Now, I saw Ron say he wasn't going to disregard him. He was going to give him at least a game before he disregarded him or what have you. But look, we will see. Oh, we've got Spinning Wheel of Doom. We've got Spinning Wheel of Doom from Ron. Ron, try again. No, it doesn't seem to be working. Let's try Paul Fiander Turner. There we go. Paul, sir, hit your mic button.
Hello.
It's when it goes a bit shonky with a couple, I always get nervy. So I'm very glad you're here, Paul. Well, how are you? What are you thinking of today's appointment?
I just think it's hilarious. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And I know Rich mentioned about choosing your words carefully, so I will definitely be someone that will be following that rule book. But it just seems like we've appointed Sven Kums the head coach version, and it's just a way of massaging possibly any payoff fee to Javi Gracia to balance the books for the rest of the season. But one way or the other, it's not an appointment that's got longevity. There's going to be a fire sale in the summer. We're going to lose a lot of quality players that won't be replaced to keep the books balanced. And I don't know how the hell they're going to get that to want people to commit to next season and beyond with season tickets and stuff up again. It's just a bad look for the club again, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's not great because it's and you'll see the words on some of the comments. It's rinse and repeat at the moment. This is more of the same, constantly going round and around and around, doing the same thing and expecting different results. And we've said, and I've said continually, those people who have been, kind of, how shall we say, in the anti-Pozzo camp or not pleased with how things are going, can point at 3 consecutive years where we've been within a shouting distance of doing all right and maybe getting into the playoffs, and have just fallen away after January. And obviously we'll look at this. We know this isn't one that's been hoisted on the club by themselves. They haven't sacked Gracia in this particular instance. Now, that could be a good or a bad thing depending on your thoughts on him. We appreciate opinions differ. However, they've gone out and got it. It seems to be his managerial record. I'm sorry, it does not scream, here's somebody who's going to go and get promotion. As Wonky would say and point out, neither did AD Boothroyd's. HJ 2025 says no one had really heard of Jokanovic, but appreciate he did have more of a background. He did. He just won something in I can't remember where he came from now. I thought was he in the Israeli league? I think he was. I could be wrong. In terms of Charlie Daniels staying on, good move.
Yeah, I think he came across really well when he was, looking after things. If anything, the club felt normal for a couple of games, didn't it? It just, he stabilised it where everything seemed to make sense. But unfortunately, and I suppose you can go back to this AD Boothroyd that people seem to be hoping that, Ed Steele's going to be like the reincarnation. He got players he wanted into the club in positions that needed to be filled.
Yeah.
We got a goalkeeper on loan because we didn't have a goalkeeper. We got 2 strikers because we didn't have any strikers. Unfortunately, our owner and our business model doesn't do that. So you can be the best coach and coach up 20 players to be the best versions of themselves. But if you're missing the most important players in that squad, someone that can put the ball in the back of the net, or someone that can break up the play, or someone that can create chances and take corners properly, the model fails because we don't have the players to do that. So he could be brilliant, coach us, get us playing attractive football. But if you've got a bit of an absolute melon up top that doesn't put it all together or get it in the net, you're not going to get top 6, are you? And that's the reality, and that's the owner's fault. Not the coach, that's the owner, 100%.
Well, Watford FC 1881 says, "Don't be fooled, anybody. The problem still exists at the club. Interference will continue, rinse and repeat." That kind of matches everything that Paul has said, and I don't disagree with it. The fundamental issues and problems, with the club. Thanks, Paul. They're still there. That is not that is not the fault of Ed Still, and I imagine everybody will still try to be supportive of their team because it's your team. Who else are you going to bloody roar on when you can? But we come back to how many of the and my sympathy, my respect, all of the above is always with those fans who travel away from home, especially, and those fans who travel to home games at the same distance as away games to try and support. And you look at it and you go, are we really getting what we thought we were going to have? Not sure. Mark Schofield says, "Hi, Pete. I'm very sorry to say that I'm absolutely fuming and feel done by this incredibly poor appointment." Daniel Ellis says, "We're getting relegated." Oh, God, those are, yeah. He says, "Only 12 points off relegation. With his record, we're doomed. Moji Bayat is why he was hired." And I look, we can never say because we can't all see inside the dynamics of everything. But this simply makes no sense on any other level other than it being a Bayat style appointment. It's strengthening Mogi Bayat's position within the club because, if you've got the head coach and he's in your camp, better than one that if he's not, and I don't believe Grazia was in that camp, it's going to be an interesting dynamic at that football club with, having somebody else being brought in who's got attachments to somebody who is by a lot of people inside that training ground not well liked at all. Hello, Daniel. This weird appointment is the tipping point. I am done, honestly, says Mark. Well, yes. Let's bring on Carlos. See what Carlos says. Hopefully he's finished driving now. Carl, you there?
I am here.
I am
here. I haven't finished driving. No.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. Well,
I'm stuck in traffic, but I'm doing it responsibly on the old Bluetooth.
So, well done, you. Well done.
See that? Check that.
Other forms of lack of responsibility are available. Come on then, Ed Phil, discuss.
Yeah. Wow, what the hell's going on at this football club? I mean, you get to a point where you think, oh, it's bad, and the whole Grazia thing, the way he's gone, and all of that, and then you get this today, which is so underwhelming, so Watford as well at the moment. And I think it's summed up quite nicely. I think I caught the end of Paul's call, and he's probably took the wind out of my sails a little bit. It is such a shambles what's going on upstairs. I think it's important to say that there are a lot of good people at this football club that care about the club. And whatever your opinion is, and I've said this before, whatever your opinion is on the football club, it's valid. Because as fans, we've all got the same deep down feeling that we want the club to succeed. We want it to do well. But unfortunately, with appointments like this and ownership like this, that's just not going to be the case. That's just not possible. There's no way that you can have a consistent way of running things in this current model. It just doesn't work. And I'm not here banging the drum for the Pozzo out movement or, for all of that. I think we're all pretty much aligned that what he's doing at the moment isn't good enough. And this merry-go-round of managers is not just this season or the last couple of seasons. It's been a long period of time now. And as owners, when do they take responsibility or Scott Duxbury, whoever it is, I don't care, whoever it is that makes the appointments of these managers, and if it's Mogi Bayat, him as well, when do they take responsibility for what's going on? When do they look at it and go, do you know what? I don't think we're particularly very good at this management appointment thing. It just seems to be costing us a lot of money and also getting us a lot of heat from the fan base. At what point do they go, we're not very good, and we need to change things and shape up? And that's the point. What I'm trying to make is that there are people at the club that, believe it or not, don't agree with what's going on. They're not all under one umbrella going, yeah, well, it's the owners' thing to play with and to mess with, and we just go by that. There's people that look at this and actually see it wrong, and that's right. But I'm just so disinterested in what's happening at the moment. I feel like I've got a problem. I need to go and get the Cray twins to come and help me with this management appointment. And what's turned up is you and Justin. So, lovely people, but you're not going to get me out of the shit. And look, this guy might be, and I think somebody said it, this guy might be the next best thing for all we know. I don't know. He might be an unbelievable coach who's got, lots to give to the game. But he's not going to be able to show that at this football club. And that's now becoming the problem. It's an environment where managers, coaches, I don't feel can blossom. I don't feel can show what they're about, because we've proven before, and I hate to mention him, I hate to bring him out, but old silly bollocks that went to Luton got a team promoted to the Premier League. Yeah,
but
whatever way you look at it,
he tried to make up for that by taking them down twice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he did. No, I agree, but and obviously he's going to get Wolves relegated as well. But
probably
there's managers that have come and gone from this football club that have gone on to do okay, and that's now the problem. We're starting to. I'm going down country lane soon, Pete. So you might leave.
Okay, that's all right. Don't worry. We'll go on to other people. It's fine. Fine.
I'm really struggling with the ownership at the moment, and when are they going to take accountability? That's my take on it. Thank you for listening to me, and I'll speak to you in about half an hour.
Yes, we'll talk to you when we're talking to Preston and our friends from the Butter Pie podcast. And a butter pie is something that Carl tried once in research purposes, and it didn't go down very well with him. He didn't really like it very much. But hey, in fairness to me and Justin, that's a sacrifice we're prepared for Carl to make. So that's nice. Right, okay, let's get to Louis. Let me go add you in, Louis Woods. See what your thoughts are. I'm bringing him back in. A couple of comments here. JJMK1978 says Charlie Daniels is still on the coaching staff. I'll always be optimistic. I love the ups and downs of following the club. Never too high, never too low. So somebody there talking about having some equilibrium. Richard Dixon, although he is a QPR fan, we know, but he frequents here quite a lot. He does say good luck to the young man, and I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. This could be, another AD Boothroyd. We don't know. We simply don't know. However, whenever you employ somebody, or whenever you apply for a role or a job or a position or a job, you have a job description and you'll provide your CV. The CV here, it's not the level of impressive that one hopes for when you were thinking, well, you're coming to Watford in, one of the, I think it's something like the sixth biggest league in Europe, etc. You want to be thinking that you're going to be bringing somebody who's got an impressive track record, rather than, frankly, two dogs with fleas for the last two roles that have been there. Because Eupen and Kortrijk, frankly, he stunk the place out. I'm sorry, there's no other word for it. Louis, what are your thoughts?
Hello, mate. Long time no speak.
Yeah, indeed. It's exactly as I'm going to go back to JJ. What is he said? Love the ups and downs. Never too high, never too low. That's probably the way to go. But yeah, never mind.
I'm just like everyone, just so deflated. Yep. I mean, honestly, New Year's Day after 3-0 Birmingham, God, we were so excited. I was like, oh my God, we're back. We're finally clicking. 40 days later, we're suddenly I'm so flat. I agree. Let's give the guy a chance. Yep. And everyone who says Xisco Munoz, Slavisa Jokanovic, even Beppe Sino, I agree, but they had João Pedro, Ismail Assar, Troy Deeney, Sino had Elman Abdi, Mati Vidra.
Yep.
Our team's nowhere near as good as those teams. So I don't really buy into that argument. And I think that's why, also, I think back then the managers had more control over team selection. There might be no truth to it, but there certainly is this rumour that perhaps someone upstairs is picking the football team or having an influence. Now we've got this new guy who is a relatively inexperienced manager, young, probably got offered the job and thought, oh my God, I've hit a lottery here. I've got a job at Watford in Championship. Of course, he's going to fall in line with all this usual stuff. It's just, and that's what's quite annoying. It's just, it feels like this classic appointment where they've gone, let's just get someone in who can, be like this sort of chess piece that can sort of represent the club on the touchline.
Yeah.
It's deflating. I can't get behind this appointment at all. I don't get it one bit.
Fair enough. Well, Watford FC 1881 says, as if the club would put out a statement saying that the incoming head coach is going to play a low-energy defensive passing side and backwards. We're not fooled anymore, Gino. Forgot to add the interference. Yeah, it's the interference has been mooted. There are numerous witnesses who've known that, well, let's be frank, that Jean-Luc Anani was having stand-up. Should we call it rows or discussions? No, let's call it discussions when we really mean rows. With Tom Cleverley last season, because he was coming in and saying, "Why have you done that? Why are you doing this? This is who you should be appointing." That he would be making a team selection, and then it would be reversed by them upstairs. Sorry, those are the reports. You don't, they've done it before. They're doing it again, and this is yet more inexplicable nonsense from the club, to be quite frank. And I do wish that this works and I can be eating humble pie, because I would not wish any young coach anything but the absolute best. His brother and the stuff that he was doing, kind of with him in France, and the fact that they've come up, it's a really interesting story. But looking at somebody's CV, as I said earlier on, if you were sitting there and you're in, oh, I don't know, you've got a job about fire prevention, and the last two, jobs that somebody came on, the place went up in flames, you'd probably think maybe not bring him on rather than put him in charge of fire security. It's not a good shake. When we spoke to Ron previously, he's always said what he wanted was somebody who was fresh to the game and somebody who hasn't blown out. Well, I'm sorry, this guy has previously blown out, but I hope that all of the pieces come together and that he fills that particular dynamic, and that linguistically, because he can speak French and English, and we do know that because of the connection to Belgian players and to players from northern France who've normally been brought around by Moji Bayer and the like, that he might be able to create some affinity. There might be something there in this, but it's got nothing to do with his past record as head coach, I'm sure.
Yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. I just think it's one of those where as soon as it starts going wrong, I mean, we dare say, we're even at the point where Preston away on Saturday is quite a big game for him.
Christ, that's good, isn't it? That's good. We'll see how it goes. Louis, lovely to hear from you. Let's hear from you after another game soon, depending on quite how low everybody's feeling, or indeed high. Other emotions are available. Justin, sir, I've added you in as a speaker. Hello. It's another bonkers day in the world of bonkers Watford Football Club. Yesterday, I went to the Watford women's team game, as is my wont to do, and we won 4-3 against Oxford. It was a delight from start to finish. It was a game with absolutely everything, including a goalkeeper called Wookie, which we particularly like, so we were all making Chewbacca noises. A goal scorer called Emma Thompson. I don't think she was married to Kenneth Branagh, but other than that, and the referee, who was a bit of big, he kind of had this kind of Michael McIntyre look going on. So it was all good, and we won 4-3. I felt really good this morning, and I woke up and saw this and went, "Oh, what another inexplicable kind of decision." I'm looking forward to the information that comes out of the club as to why this was the case, and why statistically everything that we've just talked about doesn't exist, and why this guy's going to go on. And I wish him all well, but I haven't seen it. What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm thinking the comparisons to Eddie Boothroyd aren't quite apples and apples, because Boothroyd was a manager, not a head coach.
Yep.
He was able to bring in his own players.
That's what Paul said. Absolutely.
We had muck and bullets players, Marlon King, Darius Henderson, Jordan Stewart, etc. He had Keith Birkinshaw kind of with his hand on the tiller, sort of overlooking things.
Absolutely. What a huge assistant. Him and Bertie Mee for Graham Taylor shows how much having experience actually does pay off.
And he wasn't at the whim of having players brought in that Mogi wanted to play. So I don't think it's fair really to compare him to Adi. Obviously, like you, I hope he succeeds and does well. But all the signs are pointing to that not happening, I would say. It's very underwhelming, Peter. And I think, like I said on a podcast recently, it was actually on Southampton's, their podcast, so it probably hasn't been heard by fellow Watford fans. I'm just completely bored with this now, really. It's just boring. I'm just fed up with it. I'm not enjoying football anymore. I'm not enjoying watching the games. I'm not really enjoying following Watford Football Club. This circus just seems to go on and on and on, and there's no stability, and it's just boring me.
Okay, all right. Well, good job. You're not part of three men trying to make a podcast about all of this, then, because otherwise that could be problematic. There's Justin. He's happy as Larry. Everybody. Well, you can all tune into how happy he is on the Preston North End opposition view when we'll be trying to drag him off the floor. Oh well, we'll see how we go. Right, let's get to Wendover, who's been waiting so for us. Then we come into Neil Silverstein, then to Holly 68. Then I think we're going to be probably coming to Gary by the looks, and then Phil Mason. So we've got lots of people who want to say things, and we've only got about another 40 odd minutes to go. Otherwise, we're going to be recording it live on Spaces, the Preston opposition view. There's an idea. Greg, Ed Still, you told me last night, and you sent it across and I went, I can't see that happening. He was shite at his last two gigs, and I'd looked up previously. I thought this wasn't going to happen, sir. I doff my cap to you. You got it right.
Yeah, got wind of this last night. We were talking still on Saturday evening, weren't we, Peter? We were just talking the wrong one.
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't be the first time.
You know, I wonder what his sister might be like, or his, or his third cousin removed.
Well, you know what they say. Pete. Where there's a will, there's a way. And in this case, where there's a will, actually, we've got Ed. So never mind. Carry on.
Yeah. Look, Pete, look at the clubs he's been connected with. Charleroi, Eupen.
Yep.
Who is connected to both of those clubs? I wonder.
Well, I went through it at the start, but yes, indeed, it's a certain Mr. Buyout.
I wonder. So we said this time round, perhaps they might do some due diligence. Look at the squad they've got and go and select a head coach around the players we have had. No, they haven't done that. Gino's called Mogi into the office and said, Mogi, who do you fancy out there? Oh, I know this fella Still. Ed, Will Still? No, his brother Ed Still. He was at my brother's club, Charleroi. I didn't do very well, but give him a go here. That's what's happened.
He did all right. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, credit where credit's due. From his 3 first-team full-time managerial appointments, Charleroi was the reason why he's got to wherever he is now, which is Watford, obviously, because he had 1 year where he took them to 6th in the Belgian league, and they haven't been that far up since. Now, you can look at the Belgian league and decide, kind of where coming anywhere is good, bad, or indifferent. But he did all right in his first season. He was fired after 6 months, or less than 6 months of in the October of his second season. It didn't go well. The next month he went to Eupen. He had 17 games. He won 2. Didn't do well. Got the boot. He went to Kortrijk. He got 2 draws and 6 defeats, and that was it. No wins. So look, what of that gives anybody confidence other than goodwill? And we'll have a lot of people who will be having, lots of goodwill to a young man trying to make his way in the game. Got no problem with that. But it doesn't feel like, as you say, a lot of due diligence has been done. It feels like a case of, well, something that we like to say at Do Not Scratch Your Eyes. It feels like somebody went, fuck it, that'll do. That's what it feels like, to be quite frank.
Well, look, Pete, we were all hoping after Sissoko left the building that a certain gentleman's
influence was waning.
Influence might be waning. We're thinking, only KMB left on the books with connection to our man. He's the only one left now. Let's maybe this guy's influence is waning and we're free of him. No, we're not. We're even firmer embedded with him over this. I'm disgusted, if I'm honest with you. Disgusted. I'll keep the faith. I'll keep going because I support Watford Football Club. It's the club we support. It's not, it's the club, and we'll be there long gone after anything else happens. I wish him all the best. You never know. Who knows? Look at it. He plays with 3 at the back. We've got a left-footed centre back now, so the young lad from Man City is going to play a lot of games if he's fit, I would imagine. who knows, Pete? Who knows? It's just it's gone beyond a soap opera now, isn't it? It's just I'm ambivalent to it all, as I'm sure the majority of people are.
Well, if you look at what he's got to work with, he's got four of his centre backs, and this hasn't changed since he's been appointed. Because he's got 4 centre backs, 4 of which are loanees. That's not something to build on over 2.5 years. A lot of people are saying, well, why go 2.5 years? Why not give us a contract till the end of the season? And there's probably going to be break clauses and all sorts of things put in there to try to reduce it. God, you would hope so. In terms of this, but they brought him across for the first time. He was in work, although he probably wouldn't have been for long because Anderlecht were about to replace the manager, and he was in the interim role, having previously been the assistant. So chances are he would have gone. Charlie Daniels being kept, good move.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know enough about the lad. He's been schooled under Eddie Howe and Tyndall. So
yeah.
Well, I don't like that Tyndall fella. But Eddie Howe's proved that he's a very, very good head coach, though, or manager, whatever we want to call them these days. However much we dislike him from his Bournemouth days, he's a good manager, isn't he? Maybe we have got this young, progressive, analytical coach that a lot have always wanted, because I think he, from what I've researched on his brother, was researching the wrong one. He's very modern and into analytics.
Well, they all started in analytics.
On a similar vein.
They all started in analytics and then moved across into the coaching side. Breaking news from Buzzing Hornet, which I like a lot. He said, "Buzzing news: Watford sack Ed Still after realising they appointed the wrong brother." I mean, it's been a day of that, hasn't it? Really, it's just.
Could be like the day when AC Milan were tracking
John Barnes. No, that's apocryphal.
That's a myth. I know that is a myth.
Luther was scoring goals for fun, and anybody who didn't buy him in AC Milan would have wanted shooting.
All fair. No, Luther's a good old boy, and that's that is a myth. I think Harry Redknapp once signed somebody, and he was watching the wrong one. A guy called Marco Boogers, I think his name.
Boogers. He was. Was he Dutch or is he Belgian? No, he was Dutch because they called him Mad Clog. They called him Mad Clog at West Ham. Yeah. No, the famous one. The famous
one was watching the wrong one.
The famous one was the guy who claimed to be George Weah's cousin. I don't know if he was at all, but he had none of George Weah's ability. There was a video that was sent in, and of course, this wasn't now like when digital footages are there. This must have been spliced together with tape and all sorts of stuff. And Southampton signed him. And they gave him like 15 minutes at the end of the game, and Graham Souness was not happy having had this player kind of. We looked at him in training and thought, really, is there anything there? But that's all relative. See what I did there? But Tish, lovely stuff. Thank you very much indeed, Greg. We will get.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, fella. We will catch you very soon. He did. He sent me a note yesterday, and I went, "Oh God, no, we can't be having this. He's been shite everywhere he's been, other than sick." And I went, other than about a season at Charleroi. Oh God, never mind. Mr. Silverstein, the Charleroi connection carries on. Mr. Will Still's brother Ed, he's come across. What are your thoughts on everything?
Comical or criminal? I don't know which it is.
Well, when I did my, UEFA B, I think it was that license, I was on with a certain gentleman called Ed Steen, who was Brian Steen and Mark Steen's brother. So they have been, kind of brothers with Ed in the title, who've had true football kind of pedigree. He ended up becoming assistant manager to Barry Fry at Barnet and Birmingham and kind of Peterborough and all of that sort of stuff. But what do you think about the Still clan and the particular one that we've got?
Not a lot really, other than what I've picked up and from the 53 minutes that I've listened to this and the various messages flying around. It seems to be quite comical. I think the overarching one is there's lots of mileage for fun, memes, word plays, conundrums, those sorts of things. But
Yeah.
I for me, guys, but I think Rich was making a point earlier about how crap we are at appointing managers. I just live in hope that a broken clock is right twice a day, and we might well just stumble onto someone that works for a few months before they just decide to discard him. But yeah, completely despondent. But then again, I go back and go, actually, Neil, take a check. This is what we expected, and it is absolutely irrelevant who comes in.
Yep.
Because I think you said it again, Einstein's definition of idiocracy is to do the same and expect a different outcome. It ain't going to fucking change whilst Gino and Scott are in and around and using Mogi's connections to fill the building. Just to go back to Saturday, one thing that was really pleasing to hear was the quite frequent singing of Gino don't care about Watford, right? And I think the more that gets sung louder and more often, the better, because that gets the message over. And that absolutely sums up how I feel about it all at the moment. Despondent, disengaged, and completely ambivalent, to use Greg's word, about what happens. I've got nothing against the guy, and I do wish him all the best as a person, but you've got to ask about his mentality for actually accepting the job. He's got to be fucking mad.
Well, the Anderlecht president, I think it is, I don't think they have chairman, president, came out and said that basically he found out about it on Friday, and that was the first time he mentioned to him, and then he kind of came across today. So this has been a whistle stop recruitment in terms of identifying him, getting in contact with him, and him going, all right, okay, I'm going to come along. But somebody who's had, approximately 6 months, on average in role. And bearing in mind he was at Charleroi for a year and a half, and he's been in this includes his assistant roles as well. He's clearly not built for longevity, but that doesn't make a difference when it's Watford, does it? Because we don't do longevity ourselves.
Well, that may well be where the commonality lies, that both sides' expectation is for nothing more than 6 months.
Yeah,
but other than that, who knows? Anyway,
all right,
I'll let others get on. All the best, and a belated happy birthday. And sorry I didn't sing to you Saturday.
That's all right. I do love it when people don't sing to me. I'm just saying. Speaking of other people I don't want singing to me is definitely Paul Holly. Paul, no singing, please. But other than that, what are your thoughts? As long as it's not in the form of song.
Yeah. Deflated, like most people. So what's interesting for me, and I went to Hull, I went to Southampton, and Tuesday night felt like a win, just because it was a positive performance. I came on and said so. So from that, I kind of expected that had we done okay and got a result Saturday, that Daniels would have been given more time, potentially till the end of the season. And it would have allowed Pozzo and co to actually do proper due diligence, take their time and find a good fit. And also it gives them time to, we would know where we'd finish by the end of the season. We would know which players are likely to stay or go. And then you kind of find a coach that then can work within the different dynamics if you haven't got certain players there. So at what point last week did they kind of come up with this idea that they wanted to talk to this Ed Still? You just mentioned there about the Anderlecht president finding out on Friday. So it kind of, maybe it was instigated Thursday, Friday. Clearly they would have talked to Ed first before it even became knowledge.
Paul, we've lost you there.
That conversation, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. Sorry. We've got you now. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
I think.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear us now. We lost you for a bit there, but that's fine.
Yeah, someone rang my phone. That was why it cut off. So kind of just interested in the whole process. And had Daniels got a point or even a win Saturday, would it have given him a stay of execution? I guess we will never know now. Well, we will never know.
Not presumably if the kind of approach was made on the Friday. Would suggest that whatever Charlie was going to do on Saturday wasn't necessarily going to be enough. In terms of trying to look, and I appreciate I'm playing devil's advocate here for everybody who wants to kind of get their Pete dolls and stick pins in it. But keeping Charlie involved because despite the substitute, the substitution going on and the goal going in and all of that, and it not being the equivalent of the whole performance, keeping Charlie Daniels in there allows us to build on what they've done in the last week or so. Presumably, is that something you're hopeful for, or do we suspect that he's going to, as some people have said, he's often played 3 at the back? Do we think it's going to be ripping it up and starting again?
Well, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, Daniels wouldn't have known about that on Friday because it would have been a distraction or before the game. So at what point on Saturday night or yesterday was Daniels phoned and said, look, you're not going to get till the end of the season. We're going to appoint someone else, but, they'd like you to stay part of the team. Just interesting to know when that happened. And I guess, the easiest thing would have been to walk away because really you kind of think, well, you're never going to progress at Watford if they don't now trust you even till the end of the season. But I guess the other side of it is, okay, I stay involved with the first team, excuse me, and when Ed goes, he might then get the role. So it could be a bit of contingency. But the point I want to make is let's look at this from the players' perspective. They've started with Pezzolano. They've gone to Gracia. They've picked up a little bit under Daniels, and now they're going to have another stranger. We talk about the circus. We talk about some of the players being a bit immature. But when there's no leadership, when there's so much change, why would they take it seriously?
I couldn't agree with you more, and I've said it beforehand, is that we've created this culture whereby, and let's be honest, this isn't the first year. We can go back, this is the 4th year in 7 seasons that we've had 3 coaches or 3 head coaches or 3 managers. So it's the here it's the same, just same problem, different year. But no,
I know, and it just deflates everybody.
I agree.
And we already know he's not going to last that long. He's never going to see out his 2.5 years. I don't know. There's just no. As Neil's point, it's just if you keep doing the same thing and expect different results, it's insanity.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think I made the point this morning. They've gone to buy it and said, "What do you think?" And he's gone and opened the cupboard and found a old tin of baked beans at the back of the cupboard. I thought, "Oh, I'm hungry. That'll do nicely."
Old tin of baked beans. I like that. Thank you very much indeed, as ever, Paul. There's a change on the tombola of shite thing. He's gone to the cupboard and found baked beans. I like that. Let's get to Gary. See where Gary is. Gary, sir, you okay? Gary, hit your mic button and let us know how you are.
Apologies, Pete. I was just opening a health supplement.
I thought you'd gone to the cupboard looking for baked beans after that last bit, but that's all right. Oh well, good. Other health supplements are available. Well done. Cheers. Good on you. Well, what do you reckon? What do you reckon to this one then?
I'll keep it brief because obviously I know you're pushed for time and it's just gone past 6 o'clock. Just to pick up on a couple of points that Mr. Silverstein said. It's like literally it's irrelevant who the head coach is. Whether it's Ed Steele, Jurgen Klopp, Steve Bruce, if they get results, they stay. If they don't get results, they go. I'm probably like most fans just immune to it now. It's just, to me, it's just another guy that just speaks after the end of the game. You don't get emotionally attached to them like we did with, obviously, Mr. Cleverly.
Yeah.
But we have to get behind this guy. I know we all seem to be sort of writing him off. He hasn't had the greatest of track records, but we've got to get behind him. Yes, as Mr. Silverstein took the word out of my mouth, he must be fucking mad to take this job. But we need someone that's fucking mad to take this job.
I think that'll be written in on the job description as a requirement, critical, I imagine. Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's a manager in the Championship, League One, League Two, whatever, that's doing well, and they're sort of pushing for promotion, whatever. They're not going to take this job because they'll look at it and go, I can get my team promoted, or I've got 6 months at Watford. What am I going to do? We are in a position now where we are picking from the likes of the Ed Steels, etc., unknown managers, unproven, and that's just where we are. You know, we've had managers that have managed national teams. I won't mention his name, Roy Hodgson-Tosser, or have done well.
No,
experienced managers done well, but.
I mean, I was saying on Saturday, and I appreciate that. Look, some people will say, "Oh, you're an idiot for saying, give Charlie Daniels the job." I think part of it was the fact that, exactly as you just said there, we've tried everything. We've had managers as experienced as Hodgson and Ranieri, and it be the environment that they're working in. We've had young managers. We've had we've had we've had foreign managers. We've had every single different permutation. There is only one consistent thing in this whole thing, one common denominator. And that's the fact that it's at our club, in our environment, with that same regime. And that's why when people talk about A.D. Boothroyd, that wasn't under the same regime. Neither was the selection, and neither was the supporting or dealing with or how it was being done. Completely different, and not as plush as everything is now, because they've certainly put in a number of resources. But the one fundamental thing that we got told, and we got told it time and time again at Parlaci Gino, was the one thing we can't do is get the manager right. Well, who's making the manager appointments? Tell them to fuck off, because you can't keep making it completely wrong. And if you are doing everything to support them correctly, and my suspicion is we're wrong on both counts. So, yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Frustrated, tired, but I love what you said there, which is, we've got to get behind him, because that's the only option we've got, really, isn't it? So, ho hum, we will go again. Thank you very much indeed, Gary. Let's get to Danny, and then we will finish off with Philip. Let's move Danny in there. Danny, it says Danny can now speak. I'm sure you can. If you hit the button, we can hear you. Danny, are you there, sir? Hit your mic button. Oh, he's fallen out. Danny, give it another quick request and we'll see if we can get you in. Sometimes if you've been hanging a long time, it kind of takes a little while, and sometimes you need to go again. Danny is a regular and he knows these things. Danny,
hello.
How you doing? How you doing, mate?
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Stupid question. I used to do that a lot, didn't I? I used to say that when I first started doing this nonsense. I stopped asking people how they were doing when we just shot ourselves merrily in the foot once again. Go on. What are your thoughts on the appointment?
To be honest, I don't know, because never heard of the bloke. All we know is he's Will Steele's brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And obviously he's got that Mogi connection. Obviously I was at work. I really went back to work today. So I was on annual leave last week. Went to Southampton. Really busy at work today, as it always is when I come back to work. So I've literally barely had time really to look at my phone. So I literally had a quick 5 minutes, and I saw, Ed Steele. I literally just didn't know who he was, and then literally said, "Oh, he's the younger brother of Will Steele," which we was linked with all last week, and then mate, I just don't know. Honestly, I wish the guy all the best in the world, but we have to get behind him. But we all know, 2.5 years, he'll be lucky to last 2.5 weeks, mate. It's just a circus, it's a circus, it's mate, I'm lost for words. I just don't know. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but this is not an appointment which that's going to probably get us playoffs. This is just like everybody said, a Mogi buyout appointment, a Pozzo appointment. Pozzo's clearly gone, right, Mogi, who do you want? He's gone, this guy will do. Just a joke, mate, a joke. Like I said, I wish the guy all the best, but nah, not for me.
Yeah, well, I think everybody is. I think you've summed it up perfectly where everybody is, and Gary, between the two of you, have done it perfectly. Which is, who is he? We've got no idea, no idea. But we will wish him well. We'll try and get behind him, as Gary said, as you said. Look, we're trying to do, but it seems an inexplicable one based on the data that is there. Give me an example of how he has done in the head coach role. I went through it at the start. The last one was at Oh, crikey, I can't even remember now. The one beginning with K, Crawdike or whatever it's called, in Crawdike in Belgium. 8 games he had. He lost 6 of them. He drew 2 and he was out. 17 games at Eupen, 2 wins. Gives you an idea. Six.
Absolutely, like, he's got absolutely nothing on his CV that would get any job in world football by Watford. And the only reason he's got this job is because of the clubs he's managed, UPenn and Charleroi, and there's another one. I think
it's Crawdike, and it's what he did for the Bayat family for one season. That he got 6th place in Belgium. Now let's not underplay that. He might have done fantastic stuff, and he might be great. The problem is our view on all of this is clouded by the previous 24 managers who've gone before and not been supported when they were in even into because some of those managers, had they been supported better, or had they been in better alignment, or had they been better selected and therefore in better alignment, something might have happened. Unless somebody at Watford can tell me that no, it's always entirely the manager, in which case why do you keep making the same appointments in the same way? This one, many previous appointments you could make sense of. Pezzolano, I know hardly anybody had ever heard of him because everything he'd done was basically 1.5 seasons in Spain, and the rest was all in South America or South and Central America. So it was in Mexico, and it was in Uruguay, and it was in Brazil, and then he came. But in fairness to that, you can kind of understand the idea of 3 times he's had promotion on his CV, 3 different teams taking them up to the top flight. You go, yeah, that'll do for me. I can understand
that's why ultimately the Proverbs appointed him, because, as I said, he was a promotion specialist. But then they completely scrapped that idea, because the football was a bit turgid, but he was still getting results. Whether us fans like or not, he was still getting results. Whether it was only by the odd goals.
He wasn't. He knew he was gone with a week to go. I'm sorry, I keep saying this. He lost the two performances were Millwall and Blackburn.
They weren't dog shit. But the point is, what we saw, the back end of Javi was worse than what we saw under Paulo. That back end of Javi, the Portsmouth game where we drew, and
I agree because the players were then playing for him in order to get him gone. He was basically the manager, the owner was approached by the captain, who would have been, I imagine, at the time, Sissoko, and it was like, no, it ain't working, it ain't going, and it was right. Okay, you got to put it in, and then you've got to put it in.
A few days later, Sissoko's out the door. So how does that work?
No. You're getting the two mixed up. Sissoko was gone during Grazia's.
Apologies.
I'm going back to, because you mentioned Portsmouth. The game that he got the win. I can't remember who it was against. There was the Portsmouth, and there was the Oxford was the last one, and we got another game where he won. I momentarily can't remember it. In terms of those, that was already done.
The whole game where we luckily won. I think.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And so, hey, look, he's gone. Was he supported correctly? No. And was he, kind of the stories came out that he said, well, I was asked to play Moji Bayat players. Okay, well, we've got somebody here who's worked now at Charleroi, and he's, we're now through the transfer window. But even so, we didn't bring anybody in who was there. We managed to keep Petris, who of course came from Charleroi. Didn't even know he'd signed for Watford until he was there. Very much the Holibas of 2024-25. So no, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Well, Danny, let's see what happens on Saturday up at Deepdale, and we'll take it from there, mate. We'll take it from there. Right, let's get Phil on quickly, and then we'll look to wrap up so I can go and look, fill my glass before we go and talk to Preston, which will be written in short. Philip, how are you doing? Philip, are you there, sir? Philip, you might need to just quickly do what we did previously, which is kind of come back out and go back in and request again, perhaps. Nope, doesn't look like that's working. Let's get Pete Ryan on. And Philip, if you come back out and request again, I'll get you on as soon as. Sorry, sometimes if you're left there waiting for a little while, and Philip's been waiting like a lot of people there just to come on, sometimes it just kind of pegs out. Pete, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. get ready for Andy Collins in the morning. It's Van Sank, isn't it? Van Sank. And I just really wanted to come in quickly. Emma Thompson, is she a left winger?
Tish. Oh, we were having a lot of fun. This is Emma Thompson, who was playing for, I have to say, for Oxford United up front. She's good. She got 2 goals. And yeah, we were debating whether or not she'd been married to Kenneth Branagh. You'd have to know Emma Thompson, the story. You know, she's the one from Love Actually, who gets cheated on and everybody likes. But yeah, never mind. What do you think? Whilst talking about Love Actually stars, what are you thinking of Ed Still? Any thoughts on the whole thing?
There was a. It makes me think that. Well, there's 2 lines of thought, and I'll be quick.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is: does Mogi Byatt actually have a financial interest in this club secretly? And he must do, because how has he got that influence? Has Gino run out of money and we're running on Mogi's money? That was my first thought. My second thought, well, no, you can comment on that, but you probably legally don't want to. But you know,
yeah. So okay, so in that case,
you outsource that decision. It makes no sense, because if we go up, if they're saying we're going to go up to the Premier League with this guy, is Ed still going to be a Premier League manager? Has he got the qualifications to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I doubt it very much. No, actually, yeah, he's got a UEFA Pro license. Sorry, Hornet Gag said earlier on. He said he's got the UEFA Pro. He's more qualified than Will Still is as a coach. So who knows? Look, we want to hope that he's going to come in and he's going to do really well. HJ 2025, thank you. He said, I respect what Luan says. He said, and he said he seems optimistic and fairly positive and fits the players we have. I think that's great.
Yeah,
I don't understand how he fits the players with the last 2 games he's had, the last 2 clubs he's been at, when he's had across those 2 teams 25 games and he's had 2 wins. And I appreciate that you know we've gone down and had a bigger view at that. I don't understand how you see something in somebody at that particular point that you're optimistic about. Bearing in mind that was 2023 the last time. So he's been doing assistant jobs since 2025. So I don't quite know how we get up to date views on everything else, to be honest with you. I hope he's right. I absolutely do, but I don't get to how he gets to that.
If Ed Still is a tactical genius and he's honed his craft on Football Manager and he's a great set piece analyst and a coach, then when we need that. But was I wrong in hearing the club statement? I'm just coming into work. I've been driving to work.
Yeah.
That he's going to do high press, all out attacking, high energy football. Because if he is,
yep,
we ain't got the squad for that.
Fans can expect our team to be aggressive. We're not aggressive. Really compact defensively and attack with pace. We do have pace, but we don't tend to use it, or we haven't. And let's not beat around the bush. This could be a genius covered up in, you know, kind of stupidity, but it could be genius nonetheless. And he could come in, see exactly what we've got and open up things. And I really genuinely hope he absolutely does. But what my question is how do we arrive at this as a decision? And in answer to your question, what financial stake is he involved? Let's just look at the with nothing untoward going on at all. When does an agent get paid? An agent get paid when a contract is done or when a player is sold. When has Watford ever had a plethora of players coming in on and agreeing undisclosed fees for deals, kind of loan deals at left, right, and centre? We know that Mogi Byatt has represented the club as the agent on occasions. Why? What's the point of having a technical department or a club secretary if we are and indeed a chairman and CEO who is a lawyer, if we need to pay somebody else to do it? Why? That's the question. And that's what agents do. They get paid when there are fees to be negotiated and when there are contracts to be signed, and we've had lots of them. And in this particular instance, it might be the club looking at it and going, well, look, we've got to throw a Hail Mary at this and we haven't really got much budget, or we haven't got this. There may be any number of reasons that we're not aware of. But on paper, And from a results standpoint, and I'm not pretending that I've sat there and gone and looked at every single one of Ed Still's games and performances and how he works as the head coach. But I can tell you now, his last 2 roles weren't great, and he was fired after, you know, in the typical. Let's be honest, Pozzo era of, well, if you've got to 18 months, well, you've done a good job. Cheerio. You know, Tom. Let's face it, Tom Cleverley got kind of close to that ish. You know, a bit of the end of the season and the whole of the rest. And Grazia has done. Who else has got beyond the season with us? No one.
Yeah,
no one.
I think Rich said that, you know, I think it was Rich said that, you know, he would have gone over or rung Gino's office. I don't think it's like that. I think the Buyout family and the Pozzo family are really close. Their wives went rallying together during the summer.
Yep.
I think what happened was Gino was at home, wandered into his bedroom, tapped his wife on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, darling, can I just have a word with Mogi? Something's going on." And in fact, if you leave us together, we've got some business to discuss. I just can't believe how incestuous it is, but I can only hope that Ed Still is the man. I would have even taken Russell Martin, because at least he would have brought Lucy Pinder.
Yeah, that was a good recovery there, but you had me at Russell Martin for a moment. Oh my lord. Yeah, I don't know. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how it goes. Cheers, Pete. I'll let you get back into work. And we're going to have to wrap it up because now we've got to kind of do this and start all over again and do various bits and bobs. But look, thank you so much for all of the comments. A number of people saying, you know, Bove has had 5 managers without even playing yet. Daniel Ellis, Charlie, Dan, and Maps, and now Ed. You know, yes, Yavi as well. Of course, absolutely. Richard Dixon says, I'd never heard of Julian Stefan, but he had a pedigree in France. Yeah, but he did have pedigree in France. That's my point. It's not like we're not looking at what he's got. Look, we hope he's going to do really, really well. Thank you very much for the messages and everything. And sorry, we're not going to get a chance to go through them all, but I think you've probably got the general idea. A lot of people looking at it, a lot of disheartened elements in terms of this is just attritional now. This is just, you know, you get somebody in, why him? What's that? And then what we want to happen here is a change, not from the recruitment standpoint. This has already happened now. We've got Charlie there as well, so hopefully there might be some level of continuity coming across, some benefit from the week and a half that he's been working at. It's amazing. I'm talking units of time of a week and a half worth of coaching, not wanting to lose that. He's come in. What's got to fundamentally change is you've got to support the guy, and supporting the guy doesn't mean telling him who to play. And then taking no responsibility for it when it happens. It's got to be about trying to, you know, what the guy's going to come and do, support him, back him, help him. We'll try and cheer, but I'll be honest with you, the jury hasn't gone out on the pot. So it's back and it's delivered its verdict. We're just waiting on sentencing at this moment in time. You know, you can't talk about Pozzo without, and his era overall, without talking about the start of it. But now, as was pointed out, and I can't remember who it was, but it was a great point, was saying that's a long time ago. We have been a long time now drifting. We've been a long time kind of threatening to maybe make to the playoffs, but never ever doing it. In the last 4 seasons, it's more of the same. It's exactly what Gary said earlier on. It's, you know, it's tired and it's not going to change until somebody else comes in. That's exactly what Neil said. It's exactly what Rich said at the start. Everybody is just a tad weary with it, and that's not what you want from a supporter base who will try and look for any opportunity to grab some crumbs of optimism. And I appreciate some people will call them names for looking on the positive side. Other people will call the people who are saying, well, you know, no, this is bloody awful. They'll call them. We are all part of the same support, and it's our club. It always will be our club. So we'll see how we go. But anyway, Ed, welcome to the club. See you again soon.